And we're live. Okay, while I wait for people to join in. You're such a weirdo. You're such a weirdo. Dumelang. Hello. So this is happening. Okay, so usually I like to start this off with like a big thumbs up from someone to confirm if the audio is fine and you can see me properly. Because if you can hear me and see me, then we are definitely good to go. Because if you can't see me or hear me, then this is counterproductive. So if you're watching and listening, please let me know if everything is fine. Even a quick reaction is great. And then we'll definitely introduce our topic today. Let me just fix some technical stuff. Okay, that's done. Yay, okay, we got you good to go. I'm happy. Okay, welcome everybody, Dumelang, and welcome to our second conversation on the untold stories of a miscarriage. That's the guy that's always walking around. So I'm happy to have you guys back for the second one. And on this particular conversation, we're going to be talking about the effects that pregnancy loss, because it happens in different forms. So we're going to be talking about how miscarriages in particular affect relationships. Because we know if you are in a relationship, if you've ever been in a relationship, you know how complex they are on their own. Two people with different backgrounds and different upbringings and different perspectives about lives and different childhood traumas. Those two people coming together to form a life and build a family. That's already a complex phenomenon. Mujolo is not easy. Marriage is not easy, and that coupled with the trauma and the complications that come with losing someone, particularly someone that you never got to know and hold, becomes a lot more complex. So I've personally felt that I've shared my miscarriage journey on, not in depth. I'm still yet to do that, but I've shared a lot of brutal truths about some of the stuff that I've went through. And my relationship took a knock at some point, but I'm very grateful to have been able to navigate it better. And we'll have a conversation about how that happened. So today I'm joined by two lovely people, Karabo and Sindi, whose video about their miscarriage I bumped into, and that made me really believe that those are the two people that I need to talk to regarding how they navigated their loss. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sindi and Karabo. Pepe Pepe. I always introduce my guests with Pepe Pepe. Like I'm so extra. Like I don't know why I do that, but I do it. How are you guys doing?
We good, thanks you.
Good. I know this is a very heavy conversation, but I'm trying to not make it too heavy for us to carry. So I think as challenging as it could be, I think there's a lot of beauty that comes from it, because I think for me it's really brought me way closer to my husband than we've ever been before. So that has been beautiful to experience. Welcome to the conversation. I'm really happy to have you guys, and welcome to everyone who's watching. Please engage with us. Please let us know if you're comfortable sharing your experience with us. What are some of the challenges that you are experiencing or that you experienced, how you navigated it? Because I know for certain that there's someone that's going to be watching this that needs to hear something that is going to help them their current challenge. So, can you guys introduce yourselves to the beautiful audience that took their beautiful time to watch us have this conversation?
Hi, everybody. We are the Nachos. I am Sindi, and this is Ukarabo. So Nachos is just like, our social media name, or we go by that, but our surname is Nchwe, so it's Karabo and Sindi Nchwe. We're a family of 5, got 3 kids, Zoe, Zion, and Zamar. And yeah, I think we're a family of creatives because I'm in the social production. He's a musician, MD, all the work, sound. So we're just the creative family. But yeah, we love God first and foremost. Everything is centered around Him. And yeah, everything else falls into place with that foundation.
Yeah, I was about to say, don't you think it makes everything so much easier?
At times, because I mean, when you're faced with challenges, then you need to have faith, and having that faith. Sorry, guys, we have like a child
Oh
that
no,
does.
children. This is a parenting show. This is a parenting show.
So if I breastfeed, I mean,
yeah.
yeah. So I mean, having Christ as that reassurance or that cornerstone is amazing, but also it also requires us to have the faith and the hope. And sometimes it's hard because we're human, right? Because we don't know what He has in store for us. So that hope is sometimes tricky.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I think for me, my faith has played such a huge role in giving me something to fall back on.
Sure.
I've always tried to do this. There has to be purpose to this. God is not a random person. There's always a reason for everything. Trying to find that reason has really kept me going. So that's beautiful. Okay, can you guys share your loss journey with the audience? What happened to you guys, and what are some of the complications that created your relationship?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll start. I'll start because there's one where I actually journeyed alone. Even when we're married, I went through it alone, and that was early 2015. I had a miscarriage with twins. I was 2 months pregnant when I lost the babies. And I went through that alone because I had just resigned from my job. And then a month after, Ukarabo was retrenched. And I was just like, oh, shucks. And we just had Uzoe as well. Zoe was like a few months.
4 or 5 months.
4 months old, yeah. And I was just like, I don't want to like have Ukarabo carry another burden. Already he's just like, how is he going to provide, right? So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to not share this journey with him. I'm just gonna hush it up. So I was still at home at that time. So I decided to listen, I'm just gonna go to the doctor, do the things. And whenever Karabo asked me, what was I doing? I went to the south at that time. And the south is where my mom is. So I'm sure he's like, oh no, we are dealing with Mizikaya, no?
Yeah.
And no, so I journeyed this loss on my own and only opened up to Yana in 2017. And honestly speaking, I did not process that loss. And why? It's because I had Uzoe, a baby. I just had the miscarriage, and then later within 2015, I fell pregnant with Zion. So there was like not enough room to wallow in my sorrows, So I fell pregnant with Zion, and then 2016 gave birth. After 2016, it was just like, guys, we are going on depot. Yeah, we are just sorting out our lives. We're just cutting it, because it was a lot. And then the whole of 2017, I was not pregnant because of depot. And then at the end of 2017, I decided, I need to get off depot because I was feeling a bit weird. So I wasn't even getting my period. Like, it was nice not getting the period and stuff, but like there was just like the small nuances of like my headaches and okay.
Yes. Oh,
So I
everybody
stopped.
says, yeah.
Yeah, so I stopped, and with the knowledge of Utbanjaluti, hey, you're not gonna fall pregnant. Depo is like very strong. It stays in the system for like almost a year. And I went by that. I was just like, January when I was supposed to go for my next shot, I was just like, peace. Uh, and then in March, I fell pregnant, apparently.
That's in
I
2017.
This is 2018 because I need to, the whole of 2017, I was not pregnant. In
Yes.
2018, early 2018, I was pregnant in March. But, I felt like I was pregnant, but, I was just like, no, it's impossible for me to be pregnant. Like,
Mm,
the contraceptive is still in my system. So
mm.
I ignored the feeling. Actually, I went for a pregnancy test and it came back negative. And then, but like this feeling, man, like this awkward feeling that I did,
Yeah.
like I was like, okay, it was off, but I ignored it. And then I started having like more hectic pains around May. I had like this very sharp pain. Was sitting lightly and I had like this sharp pain, and I was just like, okay, what the heck? And I slept it off. My threshold, my pain threshold, man, guys. Like you can hurt me, but it will take a while for me to get hurt. So I just slept it off. I drank painkillers and I was fine. Later in that week, like this pain got hectic. I went and we did not have medical aid. Oh, Zama. We did not have medical aid at that time.
Mm.
So I had to go to a public hospital, which was Rahima Musa. The first encounter with them was not bad. Can you walk with them a bit? Um, the first encounter was not bad. That Thursday evening, I think it was not bad. They checked me. They said I was pregnant. I did a urine test. I did a blood test. I think it was. I was pregnant. But when they did the sonar, there was nothing. They're like, okay, it's either you've miscarried and then your body is just still like flushing out Ghana, or you have an ectopic. But please come back on Saturday so we can do more bloods. Okay. Came back on Saturday. They did bloods. The bloods were still high, and they said I must come back on Monday so they can clean me, and just make sure the ectopic, because it was clear on the blood I had an ectopic pregnancy. So the plan was to come back on the Monday. Monday, early hours of the morning, Okarabo is getting ready for work. This is around 5:30, 6. I had to run downstairs and go to the toilet. I was like bleeding. Yeah, and I fainted. I actually fainted, and Karabo, like, all that happened, but Karabo found me on the floor, really. And yeah, so that time rushed to Rahima, and I got there like I think around 2:07. I only got helped. Guys, like in the afternoon, here I am. I'm sitting in pain. I'm in the ward, on not even like on a bed, but like on the chair, waiting to be helped.
Yeah.
The nurses are talking. They're talking about me, and I think this is like one of the problems that we face, or people face rather, in public hospitals, is that maybe some of the people that work within there think people who go to the public hospital are not educated. So they're having this whole conversation about me, who would say, oh my gosh, this is like bad, like she needs to have a surgery. But in front of me, but they think it was I am not sharing. So Ukarabo is in the car actually. I'm alone because they don't allow the guys to come inside. And I like all these things, all these thoughts across my mind. I'm just like, okay, Ngiafa here. Eventually they want to help me, or they get to help me. And the doctor that was seeing me was just like, do you want to fall pregnant again? Like, you have an ectopic. obviously you need to go in for surgery, but we want to know if you want to fall pregnant again. And my response to her was like, I don't know, but I did, yes. And then she was like, no, Sissy, you'd be stupid. No, it's not even Sissy. I'm making it nice now. She's like, no, you'd be stupid to have another baby, to want to be pregnant again. All of this, I'm alone, and this person is like talking down on me, and I'm just like, whoa. And I know at the back of my mind, we don't have money to go to to a private hospital. And I'm sitting here, and she's like, no, we need to take out your womb. I was just like, okay. I said okay to her. I got out before now they had to do like the general admission. I called Ukaraboniti. I am not staying here. I am leaving. We will figure it out, but I am not gonna get my like a surgery done here. And Karab was like, okay, Asan. The pain is like hectic, as in, yo, I mean, I've had labor pains before. They don't amount to that. We drove to a Parktown F&B. We got a loan. We went to Brenthurst, and then everything was sorted from there. I mean, they handled me with care. They did the things like, and when the guy saw me, because it was not my gynae, the one I had with the previous two kids. He was like, I don't understand why you're still breathing. Like the tube has ruptured. Like you have internal bleeding. I understand. You could see why you're breathing, but you know what? We're gonna sort it out. It's gonna be fine. Yeah, and it was, and for me, go this journey, right, of losing. Yes, it was painful to lose a child, and it was very painful to lose a child because, listen, like, why would God give you something and then take it away, right? Because I had processed the other one in 2017 when I shared and I asked for forgiveness from Ukarabo, and then this happens, right? More the journey of the ectopic was more hectic for me because of how I was treated by the healthcare, the public healthcare. It made it so much worse for me because it's just like, but guys, and this person was a woman, so it's either she's bitter, which she's been going through this herself, and Mina, I have the audacity to say I still want to fall pregnant.
I think we have.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I think we're having some connection issues. Hear me properly? Are you seeing me properly?
No,
that there's a point where I lost you a bit.
Oh no, your screen is fuzzy. Your screen is fuzzy.
Okay, am I picking up?
Your screen is fuzzy.
I don't know what's wrong because okay, just a second.
No problem. But can you also check out?
Sorry, everybody. We're sorting out technology. It's giving me such issues right now. Still the same?
Yeah, you are moving, but you're not clear. So we're also checking our network here, but I think we are fine.
This is weird. It says my network.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe let's continue with your story while I get someone to sort it out in the background.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, so I think in terms of the,
I just want to ask quickly. Sorry.
No, you can speak.
Okay,
I can listen.
The timing of. Okay, cool. I think what I wanted to find out is by the time you guys got the confirmation, was it the first time Ukarabo was also finding out that you guys were pregnant? When you suspected you were pregnant, was he aware as well?
So he was aware, Uguti. I felt like I was pregnant, but because we did a pregnancy test and it came out negative, it was just like, okay, maybe there's something else which is wrong here, opposed to me being
Mm,
pregnant.
mm,
Yeah.
that makes sense. I want to rope Karabo in quickly. Um,
Come on. Come
so
on.
so it's Karaoke 2018 and you are sitting outside of Rahima Musa and your wife is bleeding inside a hospital. What are you going through?
So at first, because when we took her there, the kids were with me because I was still taking them to the school, but then we had to first rush her there. So I was chilling in the car with the kids at first and just trying to find out what's happening to her. And then I think like 2 hours later, when she was still waiting, I was like, you know what, let me just take the kids to school and then I'll come back. So I took the kids, but while waiting though, still I was just because firstly, as a man, I don't know what ectopic is and all those things. So I was on my phone trying to read up on it and just
Yeah.
finding out what it is and everything. But then I took the kids to school and then I came back. And then when I came back, I went inside to just to go try to see her. And that's when she came out of the ward. And then when I saw her, I was just like, okay, no, she doesn't even look good at all. Like she was crying and stuff. And that's when she told me that she doesn't really want to be here. Because I think before that, I was like, these people are going to sort her out. But when I saw her, that's when I was like, oh, no, she doesn't look good. And with what they are saying as well, it's not really something we must just continue with. Let's go get a second opinion somewhere else. We don't have the cash, but we'll make it work. So that's when we left there. Yeah. So for me, it's because I didn't know much. It was just, okay, what does this mean? And trying to read up on it. And when I was with her, trying to ask her questions, but she's not well as well. So just trying to be to her
Yeah.
the best way I could.
Yeah. Because I think the general confusion that comes from the process alone is a lot. Because I remember Mina when my husband heard the news, because I'm a parenting writer, so I know what a miscarriage is. Like, I'm familiar with the concept. I'm a woman. I'm familiar with the concept of a miscarriage. Like when the doctor said, "Look, there's definitely something wrong," I like a part of me was like, okay, because I know there's nothing they can do to stop it. But I saw the confusion on his face, um, just the consideration of, is there something we can do to stop it? I think that confusion alone just contributes to the turmoil that follows. Because as much as I knew that we had lost our baby, like the hours that followed were so mind blowing, because then that's where for us the bleeding started. And I think the biggest thing that came from that was just the helplessness of the situation on his side, because it's like there's literally nothing he can do to stop it or make it better. Like there was absolutely nothing. Even when we got home, like I got into the shower and like I was crying frantically, and he just sat in the living room. And later when we had the conversation, he was like, I didn't know what to say. Did you feel like you knew what to say to make her feel better or try to understand how she was feeling? How did you guys process the journey after it officially happened and she was clean, then you guys had to go back home? How was that grieving journey for you?
So because we had two kids who were like small at the time, I think the best thing that I could just do was to make sure that the kids are sorted. They don't bother her because she's healing and stuff. But I think also what helped was when we left, because her parents stay in Joburg, we went to the parents' place for a week or two, just so that they can help us out.
Okay.
But then when we came home as well, I didn't know as well like what to do, what she's going through, and what to say as well. But I just told myself that okay, I think the best thing that I can do for her is to give her all the support, so that she doesn't have to do much physically. So kids, pick up the kids in the morning, bath the kids, take them to school. I'm a bed cook, so we'll get takeaways and stuff. So it was just Because emotionally, I didn't know what to do, but then I was like, okay, physically, I'll make sure that she gets all the rest that she can get. You are frozen again there. I don't know if you're still there.
She is frozen.
Oh, please go.
Okay, so I'm back. Can you guys hear me and see me? I don't know what the internet is doing to us. We're back! Yay! Look at us. Can you guys hear me? The internet is back and I can't fight it. You know what? This is all in God's hands. So we ended up the conversation. So I wanted to ask, Ukarabo said the best thing he felt he could do in that situation is just support you as much as he could in terms of giving you the time to heal and grieve. Do you feel like that's exactly what you needed, or are there other things that you needed that you communicated or felt like you couldn't communicate with him?
So I think it was exactly what I needed. I didn't need him to be a person who's going to give me solutions, because he can be that guy who gives solutions, but just him holding the fort while I'm unable, because I'm also a controller, right? But at the time I had no control of what
Yeah.
I was
Oh, that must have been tough for you. That must have been tough for you. Because you can't control it. That's the one thing you cannot. Oh, that was challenging.
It happened, you know. So I mean, just him having that support was good for me. I think that was enough. Just me knowing and having the reassurance of he's got this. He's got whatever else that I need to be doing. Well, I think for me was enough. Was definitely enough. I mean, I can also bring in the thought of there was community that was supporting. You know, like having people from church coming and dropping off meals. That was a big deal. You know, just having that support system. That was like, wow, Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
I think the community comes in very handy.
Yeah.
Because my community of sisters as well, like, held me down so proper and like coming in all direct. I think because it's such a thing that sometimes you can't even express how you're feeling in that moment, but like people in telling you, hey, we've got you. So if you need to fall and if you need to collapse, like we can definitely handle it.
Yeah.
Which aspects of your relationship personally do you feel okay, that what parts of your marriage were affected. Because I think for me personally, firstly, like we're talking much less because what happened to me, I shut down. I shut down completely from the flow. I was
Karabo,
going about my life with not just fine.
I keep losing you. We keep losing you.
Ooh, you keep losing me. Okay, so let me ask you, let me let you do the talking. Maybe God doesn't want me to do all the talking. Let me let you do the
Wow.
talking.
Wow.
Which parts of your relationship do you feel which part of your relationship do you feel were affected miscarriage?
So I think as much as Ukarabu was supporting me and was there for me, there was a part of me that felt like he was not processing. And because I'm a controller, right? I was just like, how is it that you are not talking to anybody? How is this? So I think there was a bit of tension between us because I was just like, this is the way you should process. And ngapha, I am busy talking to Abantu and I'm like in community, yo guys, help me. I'm busy talking to my mentors, people who've gone through this thing. And he's just like, no, yeah, I'm processed. And I was just like, how are you processed when you're not even talking to a thing? Like, did it for me, it felt like it didn't affect him as much. And then he would have comments, Guti, but this thing happened to you. Like just how he said our video, this happened to you. So I don't know, and it's for me that was a tension between us. I was just like, how is this guy not processing? Like, kwenzakalani? Is it
Yeah.
as in like the loss was there, but it was the loss for the both of us, and there was a misunderstanding or disagreement to go to in terms of how to process. But again, I think I was at fault for that because
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
grasp or not able to be processed differently. So it felt like Natty, you're not doing it. Like you're not cutting it. Yes, I can see you're doing stuff, but you're not processing. Like, I mean, please grieve. I want to see maybe in my
Deal with
head.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe with the color, I don't know, scream. And you know what? I think one of the reasons why I had that picture in my head was because of social media and what we see on TV.
Hmm. Okay.
That some girls would just like throw themselves, even like the whole birthing experience, the dads cry and where my said none of that happened.
These
So
boys
it's
should
just
not cry.
so I think just society also contributed to my thought pattern of witty. This is how Ukarabo supposed to mourn, which is not
Yeah.
necessarily right or true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely right because I also went through something very similar where I kept pushing him because I got to a point where I was like, okay, now I have to deal with this. And then I was talking to someone and I was trying to talk to him. And I'm like, but you're not doing anything. Why am I doing the
Tase?
work alone? Like you are not talking to me. So I think it also was affecting my processing a bit because I started feeling like I'm a bit selfish. Like now I'm making it all about me because I think that's what I wanted to stray away from, where it feels like the process is solely about you, where it's like we both lost in different ways, but both lost, right? So
Yeah.
wait, there's a question here. Let me not jump.
Okay.
Mlangedi family is asking Karabo, as a guy, don't feel or experience a pregnancy or miscarriage physically. How did you deal or how did you deal or process the loss? I think definitely one of the things you wanted to cover, and I think it ties into what you just said now, Cindy. So, Karabo, apparently when now you were quiet and not talking to you were just what was happening in your head? How are you processing the fact that you just lost a child for the second time?
So I think I was still, because like a few months before, that's when she had just told me that 2 years ago she had a miscarriage and she didn't tell me about it. So I was still going through that whole thing of how do I react to this? Because at that time I just felt like, okay, I didn't know about this. so what do I do now? Like, how do, like, yeah, I didn't know what to do then. And then few months later, then there's this, which is kind of similar, but not in a way that we also didn't know. Like, as soon as we find out that we are pregnant, then there's a loss already. So I was still just going through that whole thing. Because for me, it felt like I'm losing something that I didn't have even already, you know. Like being told that, oh, congrats, you have this, but unfortunately, it's gone. You can't take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I was going through. And also the thing with me is the way I deal with things is, like you were saying, that I'm a solutions guy. Like I'm like, okay, this happened. How do we move on and how do we carry on from this? So my thing was, okay, we've lost a child. Then to help, that, like I was saying before, that for me the main thing was to just help her. So helping her was making sure that the kids are sorted. That's what I focused on. The house is sorted. But for me personally, I just felt like I didn't know much. It's not like we went for 2 or 3 months saying, "Oh, we are pregnant," and we thought about it like, "Okay, we need to plan this and everything." So there was none of that. It was just like, 1 minute you are pregnant, next minute, no, there's no baby there. The baby didn't get. So that's where the thing came from between us, where she felt like I'm not processing the thing, and she wanted me to talk to people about it. But then I'm like, what am I going to say though? Because I mean, I feel like there's not much for me to say. I don't feel the way you're feeling it. Even with, because I know a few months later, another friend went through the same thing. So with her at first, she was all fine as well. So like, I didn't know about it, so I'm cool. Then a few months later, that's when it hurt her now, the whole thing. So it just came crumbling for her. So in those beginning stages, I was like, you see, she's going through the same thing that I was going through. So it's not like there was something wrong with how I was processing and dealing with the loss. But yeah, so that's how I dealt with it. For me, it was like, this happened. How do we move on and find a solution for it?
So it sounds like your love language is also like you just giving your love language as acts of services to say, if I do
100%. 180%, not 130.
If I do this for you, I'm showing you that I love you. What more do you want from me? No, but did you guys have a talk? Is there a big conversation that happened where there was an acknowledgement to say we are just grieving differently and that's fine? Was there one big one that happened where you guys were now on the same page to say, okay, maybe Sichaba is not the guy that talks? Because my husband is also Karabo. I'm familiar with your story. I think we share the story because my husband is also completely the same. He internalizes grief. He deals with it on his own. I've had to learn that now. Actually, recently, I've had to learn that to say he's actually okay, you know, but you see the moments when he's not, but because he's not speaking about it does not mean he's not dealing with it. So I have during the talk, the big conversation that we had to say, how can I support you? How can I not? And he was like, I'm fine. I just need to deal with it in one and I'll be fine. Is there a conversation that happened with you guys?
I think for us it was because it was that whole tension of how am I dealing and I'm not dealing with it the way she expects me to. But at the end of that, I think she just accepted that, okay, I think it's fine, you know, I'll deal with it my way and then I will leave you to deal with it your own way as well. But it was not like a formal thing where we sat down and said, okay, this is how we'll continue doing it. It was just because we were seeing that, okay, we are not seeing eye to eye on this thing. Let's just leave it like that, because also it's not help. She can't force me also to do things her way at the end, because then she's not going to get anything out of it. So it was just that, okay, I think let's just leave it like this and carry on and just see how things go moving forward.
Listen, I think instead of having that talk, I think I got to a point where I was just like, ngalile. I just like, it's like, you know, let me just deal. This is my story. I'm the one that carried. If he doesn't want to deal, and because at that time as well, we had our other issues in terms of just like being in community and talking to people, you know, just having your support system. Because I saw how it worked for me at that time, Guti. let me have that support structure,
Yeah.
And I guess I imposed it on him. But with imposing, the problem here is a person, you can preach and tell and beat a person, but if they are not ready, they're not going to do it, so
Yeah.
I left it as is, how he processed, and yeah, Mina, I continued. But it was not like a okay. We are no. I was not okay. Like at some point, I was just like, no, bruh, I'm not okay. You're not processing.
Mm.
Yeah,
I think it sounds like you guys, as much as you say ungalile, and he was like, you can't force me. I think there was just like
an
you guys were just
alignment maybe.
giving each other the space. You guys were just giving each other the space to deal with it how
Yeah,
you wanted to deal with it. Um,
yeah.
so for me, I was talking to a guy about this actually. So his intimate life has been affected since then. Did you find that there was that dynamic with you guys where you couldn't be as intimate as you were, and it took time for you for your sex life to get back to where it was before the losses happened?
So
Mashallah.
so I think, I mean, when the topic happened, we're in a season of our lives where just things were crazy. So we had sex, we were intimate, but not as much as we should have been. And I mean, looking back now, I think this was one of the reasons. Which okay, like me viewing sex as in like, yo, it's I have sex and then this is gonna happen. Like it's like, okay, so when I'll have sex and then I'm gonna fall pregnant. If not fall pregnant, I am gonna lose my baby and I'm gonna go through the most, because also my pregnancies are like really hectic, right? So now I've got a hectic pregnancy, ngapa I have a pregnancy, then I miscarry or I have an ectopic. So sex for me was always just like a
Mm,
if
yeah,
I have sex, repercussions of having sex, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think for the guys that are watching, I think it's important for us to state this, right? Is that
Mm.
the anxiety of the process really keeps us away from enjoying sex like how we used to. Because for me it took a couple of weeks for me to get back. Firstly, it affected our 'cause sex is important in a relationship, but it affected us in a way where I couldn't really express why I didn't want to be intimate anymore. But then when I finally found the words, then I understood that I was actually just anxious about falling pregnant again, because by that time we were not on any contraception, and the fear of falling pregnant and having another child was so high that I did not want to have like I did not want to have sex, because sex is pregnancy and pregnancy is miscarriage. That's the only thing that was happening in my head. And I think for some people that can't process quickly or better or navigate the situation, then that takes so much longer. And I think that also contributes to the breakdown of the whole relationship. Because I mean, two people that are in a relationship and are not having regular sex,
Yeah.
someone is bound to lose interest. And that definitely happened to us, because I was like, I cannot. I mean, I got to a point where I started saying, wait, actually,
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
actually, I think I'm fine with one. Like that, it got that
Because you're
bad.
running away from the disappointment. You're running
Yeah,
away from the disappointment. You don't
yeah,
want
yeah,
to point to you like, "Ish, I'm going to be disappointed again. What if, like, and like with even me falling pregnant after the ectopic with him, I was always anxious. I was just like, oh, like a pain would happen. I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening?
yes, yes,
So you're just like
yes.
trying to avoid feeling all those feelings is negative. You're just like, yo, what if it happens again?
Oh, I've got a comment here. Oh, Londi, thank you for joining. I joined late. You have the very same fears I have, and my husband wants to try again, but I'm scared of miscarrying again, especially at around 6 months. So, Londi recently had a miscarriage. Sorry, I hope me sharing your story. I'm sorry for like taking your story like that. But I think in a situation like that, like your fears are highly justified.
Yeah.
Your fears of losing a child again are highly justified because you just lost a child. So the conversations of trying again are difficult ones to have. And I don't know if like there was one big one that happened with my husband, but I think we did have a couple of conversations where we were checking in, just testing the waters. Hey, are you ready? No? Okay, it's fine.
Let's do it. Let's
Let's
do it.
try
Yeah.
again. Are we doing this? No? Okay, no, it's fine. So, Londi, I think because you guys are processing it so differently, maybe he's not understanding what it's doing to you and the anxiety. So I'm not sure if you guys are talking about it, having conversations about how much it's affected you, because it does affect you. It does affect you. It fuels your anxiety. Like now, I feel like I'm in a good place to have like another baby. I'm not that girl anymore. I'm not that girl anymore that says I don't want another child because I was scared. Like I'm not scared anymore. But I'm also acknowledging fully if I do fall pregnant again and I feel cramps, the thought is gonna come that what if this is what's happening? So I think the fear remains with you. Um, so it's important. Like I think at some point, did any one of you consider therapy at some point? Did you ever feel like you needed it? Was it ever a consideration or never? Did you guys feel like you were dealing with it well enough?
So I think for me, because I'll go back to the community thing. I like how I process. I like to talk about stuff, and not necessarily going to. Sorry, he's just taking my kid up there.
No, that's fine.
Not necessarily going to a paid therapist or professional therapist, but because of the community at the church that I'm in, I can sit in the pastoral team. The pastoral team has counselors, and
Yeah.
I just and I'm like, yo, I just Napola, and I just have it, and it's so important. It helps, like you feel so much lighter when you're processing or when you're talking to someone. Well, at least for me, because that's how I process, right? But I think because I went to a therapist only like beginning of last year because of other issues, which was this was part of a build up, I guess, to all the emotions coming out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
went to a paid therapist, and I'm always like, why didn't I ever go to a paid therapist earlier? So I definitely do recommend going to a therapist, and even if it's not for your significant other, and you want your significant other to come with you, but just for them being there is a great deal. Like it helps like it helps you. Okay, he understands where my emotions are. If it's just even if it's just sitting there in the session with you, he
Yeah.
understands. He's understanding the thought process and how like you're unpacking your
Yeah.
emotion. Yeah.
Because I think that's important. So with me, she says she feels like she doesn't want kids anymore. And again, you're going through absolutely something that's normal in the process, and it doesn't always remain the same. But if the anxiety gets to a point where you really completely don't feel like you want kids, and then that's also contributing to the breakdown of your relationship, then I think it's important to seek assistance from someone you can talk to, either a paid therapist or your community. It's important to reach out. Reaching out is so important because alone you can completely drown. And I am like the total mental health advocate. Like I get people texting, hey, where can I find someone to talk to? I'm like, I got someone for you because I understand how
I
powerful
can help you
talking.
out. It's
Yes,
necessary. It's
it,
so necessary.
it
Like
really
yo,
is. So the Mlangeni family is asking, with dealing with the loss, did you guys consider seeing a third party fast? Oh, okay. I think she said we just covered the question. Yes. So
Uh,
the pain and the disappointment can be so overwhelming, you guys. Like, yo, there's nothing worse than as a woman feeling like you're failing as a woman, because fertility is
yeah.
so closely attached to womanhood, right? That makoti abantwana bazanin.
That's it. And you're just like, well, there are issues. And sometimes you can't even disclose these issues, right? Because we've made it such a taboo thing. Like, if I was Ugu, like, birth the kids, then am I even a woman? You
Mm,
know? Um, and I think then that's why it's so important that we rally around each other.
yes.
Besides sisterhood, I feel like as families, one needs or we need to be okay with having these conversations and having these necessary conversations, because that's how we then deal. I mean, like, even in marriage mentoring, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel, yeah, my marriage is going through the most, but until you talk to another couple, which
Mm.
they've also gone through the same thing, it's just that we're in
Same.
different
Yeah.
seasons, right? And this is
Exactly.
why it's important to talk and always have these conversations with the, yeah, I'm going through the most, help me. And it's always okay to ask for help. Yeah. Can I just say something regarding Londi? I think, is it
Yes.
Londi?
Yes.
Um,
It's Lon-
so, Lons, I think it's okay to feel what you're feeling right now, Boo. And dealing or processing might take a while. But also, not but, however, I think it would also be great to sit down with your husband or your boyfriend. I'm not sure if it's a husband or boyfriend,
husband.
and have a conversation with Anik already right now. As much as you don't want kids right now, you also don't want to have a decision of selfishness, right? Because as much as it's happened to you, it's a thing in me too. We are in it together, and maybe he also needs to respect the fact to go say, okay, Bulondi is not ready right now. Maybe we can try in a year or two. Like just how Karabo and her husband is like, oh, testing the waters. He must also be on that same page. You go, okay, Ulondi is not ready right now, and he also needs to respect that. But also, you also need to be open with, okay, my husband might want another child. Okay, how am I gonna help myself deal with these emotions for us to get to the next steps, and how can you support me to get to the next steps?
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that she shouldn't base the decision just because Uschaba wants another baby. Because at
Yeah,
the end of the day, she's going to be carrying the baby, and she's going to be going through the
the
anxiety
most.
of not feeling the baby kick for an hour, and you're already anxious because
Yeah,
Londi lost the baby at around 6 months. So that's very far in the gestation stage, and the bond was already there. So it's a tough loss that you're going through, my sister. So it's
grace,
sometimes good.
Lord, grace.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's good to be selfish. I think some decisions we need to be selfish and think about the human body that's going to be going through this. Are they mentally in a good place to carry another baby? And also, I think our healthcare system can get very cold when it comes to things like this, because without the
Mm,
consideration of the spiritual and emotional aspect, they're like, this is a fantastic time to try again.
no. So who said what?
I must get pregnant
Yeah,
again right now. You mean I must try
yeah.
again now? So I think that makes it. I think that makes other people feel like, oh yeah, you can just try again. Like, just replace that one with another one. And we are removing the emotional turmoil and what a roller coaster it is from the actual process. So process it, and it might take time. But I think alone, I think the message here is that alone, it's very hard to process, and that's why we need our
Mm,
partners to be on the same page with us somehow, and that's why we need to be able to reach out to our communities, because on our own, the devil preys on loneliness, like the type of stuff we think about when we are lonely. Oh, it's so dark. Loneliness is absolutely dark, so don't process it alone. So she said here, They're considering counseling, definitely going for it. I love that. It's going to absolutely change your life. I think therapy absolutely changed my life. So I think I'm confident that it'll definitely do the same for you. And like I said before, Londi, my DM and my heart and my soul is always open for anyone. I've never met you, we've never really spoken before, but you had a loss and I've had a loss, and that's one thing that that unifies us as two moms. So I'm always open to talking. We've got a couple of comments. Uzibuse Kunene, I would love us to have a collaboration between what you do and we do, mommy. Yes, definitely. Let's talk about that. I'll DM you. I'll slide into your DMs after this. There's power in collaboration, so I'll definitely do that. Our doctor gave us good advice on trying again. He told us to wait 3 months before thinking of trying again. I love that. I love that. I think that's the first time I hear that, because every time, like my experience, my gynae also said, but she was kind. She said, "Oh, I know this is gonna sound mean, but like right now you're hot. Like touch is a move. So if you are thinking about it, you can definitely go for it." But she wasn't being cold about it, which is something I appreciated. She was telling, like, from a medical perspective, if you want to try again, you can do it now, but you don't have to. So don't rush me. But I've heard a lot of women saying, my doctor just said, just go for it. So I love that your doctor said 3 months. Just wait 3 months to process it, because I think 3 months will give you enough time to actually just say, actually, I'm not ready. And then you get 3 more months and 3 more months. And then maybe in the third month, you're like, yes, we can go for it. So this is really good advice. And then he also says, as much as dads can be there, the mother feels a loss greater because she felt the emotions and bonded with the baby. Yeah. I think we definitely process the grief very differently. Lanyin family says, thank you for sharing your story. It's an absolute pleasure. There's power in storytelling and sharing our stories. So Zbusa says he explained why and how the loss happened, and it was no fault of ours, and there was nothing we could do. Did you guys ever go through the motions of guilt or feeling like there's something you did wrong to contribute to the loss?
She did, but I only actually found out about it after when she was pregnant with Zama now. So because we were talking to the doctor about the topic, and he was trying to explain what sometimes causes it, because you were saying sometimes when you are on contraceptives, your tubes are not after that your tubes can't really grasp properly, so that's why the whole thing happens. So I was very enlightened with it, because I don't know anything about these things. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I think
getting schooled.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, now, because I didn't know anything. I'm trying to read, but just getting the information from a doctor was very helpful. Yeah. So I think the way I responded, because then afterwards she asked me that, so have you ever blamed me for the ectopic, like that I did something wrong, how I just handled my body and everything? And then I was like, no, for me, this thing is just something that happens. I don't think a person can make this happen to themselves. So, but I think she went with that for some time, that feeling like, okay, and maybe this guy blames me partly for this because this happened to my body.
Oh, I can say why, though. I can show why. So just before the ectopic happened, I just turned 30, and I had drinks with like friends, and I was just like, yo, what if the drinks are the cause of so I carried that guilt for such a long time. I was just like, okay, and he's always been like, no, I don't like you, don't have a drink, like, and that time actually for my 30th we actually fought, right? And a part of me had those drinks because I was just like,
I'm living my best life right now.
Living my best life. You are not there, so whatever. And then just a week after, 3 days after that, I think the ectopic happened. So I was just like, shucks, man. Is this like God fighting for him on his behalf, or what's happening? And only just like when was it? It was a year after, like the beginning of the year, when I saw the gynae, when I was pregnant with Uzama Uguti. It's because of the fallopian tubes they were floppy, so the pee couldn't travel all the way to the uterus, because it just had gotten off depot.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you went through like such a long time of carrying that kind of guilt because it sounds like it can weigh
It,
so hard
it,
on you.
it's crippling, okay? It's crippling because you're just like, yo. And also at that time, I think we're like not too great, as in like, when you're best friends, but you're not best friends anymore. Uh, just you can see the vibe in the house is like, and you're just like, yo,
Yeah.
maybe it's
Maybe
because
it's because, yeah,
it
yeah,
happened, so
yeah,
it was crippling for the longest time, and I was just like, okay, phew, okay, it was never my fault.
yeah.
Um,
You
but
could
also
breathe better.
I could breathe better. And his response was just like, no, and I was just like, okay. And because like the trust thing, I was just like, okay, thank you. Thank you. It was just like,
Yes. So maybe this is important for couples as well to have that big conversation where we eliminate some of the negative thoughts that are happening in our heads but we can't process. And because the guilt is an inevitable thing that we experience in the journey, in the lost journey. Someone feels guilty about something. So the guilt conversation then has to happen. Conversations change lives, guys. My saying is conversations, not revolutions. They are life changing. So let's just talk about it. So if we talk about it, then we know whether or not we have a problem, and then we can proceed. I think this is an absolutely wonderful question to wrap up the conversation with. How would you encourage couples who have experienced deep disappointment or loss? That's beautiful.
I'd say, I think firstly, the first thing, like you were talking, just to build up on what you were saying in terms of talking, you need to talk about it. And because, like you were saying, that being alone, the devil just wants you to be alone by yourself because he's going to whisper things to you and tell you a lot of things, especially for guys as well. Because, like, I'm that person that I love being by myself, but it's not a good thing because that's where the devil can just tell you a whole lot of stuff and you end up believing those things. So just talk about it, be very open to each other about it. But then one thing just to encourage as well is to just say that go through that whole thing, go through the process. It might feel hectic, but go through it and feel everything. Don't um, I can say, or say, dima that thing, go through that pain, feel it that way, the way you're supposed to feel it. Don't just say, no, maybe here I'm being too much or anything, but go through every single process of pain that you have to go through. And eventually you're going to come out of it. You're not going to stay there forever. It's something that you're going to pass through as well. But go through it. Don't jump things because if you try to jump it, it's going to come and eat you somewhere again later on in life.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Karabo. Oh, that's actually so powerful. Just going through the motions, right? Just allowing ourselves to because it's your journey. That's exactly what yesterday I shared on Facebook. I'm like, when someone says you are exactly where you're supposed to be and you're going through something shitty, oh, that's so difficult to hear, but it's a truth. Even when we're going through the toughest of times, I mean, with you guys, with your relationship, when the first loss happened, it felt like you guys were going through so many turmoils at the same time. You resigning and then like it's a lot, right? Left, right,
yeah.
and center. But we are always exactly where we're supposed to be. Yeah.
Um, I mean, just to add on to Karab, I think that was like that's perfect what he just said now. Great encouragement, and find your anchor. Um, find your support system and find your anchor. So, what after the ectopic, I anchored myself on scripture as much as like Jesus, why are you doing this? I had questions for God, but also I anchored myself in His promises. He will restore to me what has been taken away from me. And I kept reciting that, even if it was not with Him, but I always had that, okay, this is not my portion. So anchor yourself on something that you believe in. It's okay, yeah, this thing it bad happened to me, but there's greater things to come. And out of this bad thing, I will be able to tell a story and I'll be able to change lives. So anchor yourself.
Anchor yourself. Anchor yourself.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. This has been such a beautiful conversation, you guys. I think my advice to couples is over and above the beauty that you guys shared is to firstly also acknowledge that you guys are going to process it very differently. So when you feel like you're not getting what you need, or he's not processing it the way you want him to, acknowledge that he is a different person than you. He experienced the loss very differently to you. So he doesn't, when you say, I don't want to have sex tonight, he doesn't understand why. So you have to tell him. When you say, I don't want to try again, he doesn't understand why. You have to tell him. So talk and talk and talk, and don't stop talking. Because some guys say, oh, you want to talk again? Yes, I want to talk again.
I want to talk. Let's
I
make
really
this
want.
thing. Let's just get it engraved. Process with me. Yeah.
Yes, because the more we talk is the more we understand what we're going through. I think Londi says, I wish I know what went wrong with my pregnancy because I was already 6 months, but now I understand it's not my fault because I would have done everything for my baby to make it. I'm so thankful. Your baby is a beautiful angel that I hope you've named, and will forever have that connection because they were your child, um, and nothing will take that away from you. So Londi, you are a mother to a beautiful angel baby, and it was not your fault. And what was it sounds so terrible, but what was meant to happen happened, and it's a terrible thing to hear when you're going through tough moments. But God will heal your heart and God will heal your soul. And again, I'm putting myself out as a person you can definitely reach out to whenever you need to talk, and need someone that understands what you're going through. Because I was 7 weeks pregnant, you were 6 months, but I don't think it matters where you were. It just matters that you lost. So
Loss. Yeah.
so reach out. We love you so much. Tulage Lengembe says, question to both ladies. Wow. Okay, another question. Our final question. We're over an hour.
That's-
How does it feel like when coming across a pregnant lady, you're seeing someone carrying a newborn after getting a miscarriage? I think I can go. So for me, it wasn't a painful or triggering emotion. I just looked at it. I was like, oh, that could have been me. But then I also looked at that as such a beautiful thing. And now I was looking at a random child now when I was out to work, and I was like, oh, that's so pretty. They are so small, and I want that. So at the beginning of the process, it might be a source of your pain, and it could be a trigger. But as you put in the work, because you have to put in the work to get to a better place. As
yeah.
you put in the work, it gets better, and you start looking at that as something that you to experience, instead of something that gives you disappointment. How did you experience it?
So for me, I think okay, so when I was pregnant with Zion, I had a friend who were pregnant at the same time. So like everything was just okay, we're gonna give birth this month, and it happened that she lost her baby, and that was a terrible thing in the sense that she then looked at me and she's just like, oh, why didn't God take your child? Why did you have to take mine? So when I lost my baby and then I saw other people pregnant, I had that thing playing in my head because at that time it was like, that's mean, right? Like for my friend to actually think, Uguti, why didn't God take my child? That was mean. And when I saw people who were pregnant while I was experiencing a loss, I was just like, Jesus bless them. Just bless them. This is a beautiful blessing. I pray. Like I'd sit and I'd see them and I'm like, yo, you must carry full term. Like it was always I bless you. Like I pray that God blesses you that you carry full term. It was never selfish. It was never like I wish I can be pregnant. I mean the thing is always the good okay, hey, but it was always about blessing the other person. It's like, oh, this is a beautiful thing. I pray that it's just like pouring blessings over their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Blessings on blessings on blessings. Thank you to
Okay.
everyone that joined in today. We're really grateful. Karabo, Sindi, thank you so much, so much. I'm really grateful for sitting down and having this conversation. And hopefully in the future we can have more amazing conversations about marriage, relationships, and parenting.
Yeah, so Karabo, can
My
we pray for
network is
you?
so bad now.
Is it? Can we quickly pray for you? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I think my network is telling me to shut it down.
But we'll send you a voice note. We'll send you a voice note. It's fine. Oh wow. Oh wow. What's happening?
Thank
What's
you so
happening?
much, you guys. Yeah. Thank you to everyone that joined us and thank you to everyone that engaged. We love you all. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Goodbye. Goodbye.